Plant life. In our surroundings, we have number of plants and trees. They may differ in shape and size, but all the flowering plants have some common characteristics. Basically, all the flowering plants are similar because all plants possess root, stem, leaf, flower, and fruit. A typical flowering plant, such as mustard plant, consists of two main systems. 1. A system below the soil is called the root system, and it consists of the main root, secondary root, and root hairs. Know this. Till now, scientists have identified more than 260,000 species of angiospermic plants. 2. The system above the ground, which we see, is called the shoot system. The shoot system consists of stem, leaves, flowers, and fruits. We will learn about the leaf and the flower parts of a plant in details. The leaf. Leaf is one of the most important part of the shoot. It is called the kitchen or food factory of the plant. It is thin, flat, green, expanded structure which is concerned with the manufacture of food. It arises from the node of the stem and has a bud called axillary bud in its axil. External structure. A typical leaf mainly consists of these parts. 1. Leaf blade or lamina. The flat green part of a leaf is called the leaf blade or lamina. It is generally thin and expanded structure which receives the maximum sunlight. It contains green pigment, the chlorophyll which is essential for photosynthesis. The leaf blade has a network of veins which are further divided into fine veins called veinlets. Veins conduct water to the leaves and transport prepared food from the leaves to the other parts of the plant. 2. Petiole. It is a stalk by the leaf by which the leaf is attached to the stem of a plant. The petiole extends in the leaf blade as a midrib and joins the leaf to the stem. Its main function is to keep the leaf in such a position so that it gets maximum sunlight and air. Leaves having petioles are called petiolate, and the leaves without petioles are called sessile. 3. Leaf base. Leaf base is a basal part of leaf through which leaf is attached to the stem. Venation. The arrangement of veins and veinlets of the leaf blade is called venation. Venation is of two types, reticulate venation and parallel venation. 1. Reticulate venation. When the veins and veinlets are irregularly distributed forming a network, it is called reticulate venation. This kind of venation is found in the leaves of mango, banyan, and mustard. 2. Parallel venation. When veins run parallel to each other from base to apex in the leaf blade, it is called parallel venation. Leaves of wheat, palm, banana, rice, and maize have parallel venation. Activity. Collect 10 different types of leaves, dry them by pressing between newspapers. Paste them on herbarium sheet. Observe their venation, shape, and margin of the leaf. Kinds of leaves. On the basis of lamina, leaves are of two kinds, simple leaf and compound leaf. 1. Simple leaf. It consists of single and undivided lamina without any cuts. In some cases, leaf blade is slightly incised. Example, leaves of mango, mustard, banyan, etc. 2. Compound leaf. When lamina is cut down up to the midrib or petiole to form many leaflets. Such a leaf is called a compound leaf. The stalk or main stem of a compound leaf is called rachis. Example, leaves of neem, tamarind, etc. Arrangement of leaves. The arrangement of the leaves on the stem or branch is called phyllotaxy. The leaves are arranged in such a way that they get maximum sunlight. Leaves may be arranged in the following patterns. Alternate. When one leaf is present at a node that is opposite to the previous leaf. The leaves are arranged at definite gap around the stem. Example, mustard, sunflower. Opposite. When two leaves develop at a node lying opposite to each other. Example, tulsi, guava. World. When more than two leaves develop at each node and are arranged in a circle. Example, nerium, oleander. Function of a leaf. 1. The main function of leaf is the synthesis of food with the help of chlorophyll, carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight by the process of photosynthesis. 2. The leaves perform gaseous exchange through small pores on their surface called stomata. The leaf of Victoria regia can bear the weight of a child. 3. The excess water in the form of water vapor is removed from the leaves through stomata and the process is called transpiration. 4. In some cases, the leaves are used as food materials. Modifications of a leaf. Sometimes, the entire or part of the leaf is modified to perform special functions. These may be 1. Leaf tendril. In some weak-stemmed plants, the leaf is modified into a tendril, which helps the plant in climbing. Example, sweet pea, smilax. 2. Leaf spine. In the leaves of xerophytes, desert plants like cactus, the leaves are modified into spines. The spines prevent water loss during transpiration. Example, opuntia. 3. Scale leaves. These leaves store food in water and become thick and fleshy. Example, onion. 4. Insectivorous. The leaves of some plants are modified into a bladder or pitcher to trap the insects. These plants are called insect-eating or insectivorous plants. Example, nepenthes, bladderwort, Venus flytrap, Utricularia. 5. Phylloid. Sometimes the leaf petiole is modified into flattened, green, leaf-like structure called phylloid. It carries out photosynthesis. Example, Acacia melanoxylon. Vegetative propagation in leaf. Some plants, like the bryophyllum, have fleshy and thick leaves bearing buds on its edges. These buds on the edges of the leaves grow as new plants. When leaves fall down on the ground, the buds start growing. Activity. Pluck a bryophyllum leaf and place it in between the pages of a book. If you see it after 2 to 3 days, you will find several new plants growing from the buds all along the edges. Flower. Flower is a modified shoot bear's reproductive parts. Flowers grow from the stem of the plant and are the reproductive part of a plant. It is an essential part of the plant because it bears male and female sex organs which are helpful in further multiplication of the species of the plant. Parts of a flower. In general, a flower possesses long or short stalk through which it is attached to the stem and is called pedicel. The flowers which have pedicel are called pedicellate and the flowers without pedicel are called sessile. The branch that bears flowers is called the mother axis. The tip of the mother axis is swollen, which is called thalamus. The other parts of the flowers are arranged in 4 whorls. They are 1. Calyx. This is the outer whorl of the flower. It consists of few green-colored leaf-like structures called sepals. They provide protection to the flower in bud condition. 2. Corolla. This is the second whorl of the flower. It consists of colored and attractive structures called petals. The main function of the petals is to attract insects for pollination. 3. Androecium. It is the third whorl of the flower. It is the male reproductive part of the plant and each unit of the androecium is called stamen. A stamen consists of anther, filament and connective. Anther is the fertile part which bears yellow powdery particles called pollen grains. 4. Gynoecium. This is the innermost whorl of the flower. It is the female reproductive part of the flower and consists of one or several units called carpels or pistil. The basal swollen part is called ovary, which bears one or few round structures called ovules. The upper part of the ovary joins with a short tube-like structure called style. The uppermost part of the style is called stigma. When all the 4 above-mentioned whorls are present, the flower is called complete flower. Example, mustard, China rose, Hibiscus rosa sinensis. When any of the whorl is absent, the flower is called incomplete flower. Example, castor. Activity. Take a flower, see the androecium and collect pollen grains on the slide. Put a drop of glycerine, cover with a cover slip and see pollen grains under microscope. Functions of the flowers. 1. Flowers are the reproductive parts of the plant, which is helpful in multiplication of species. 2. Flowers produce nectar, which is the food of many insects. 3. Flowers have an ornamental value, which increase the glory of the gardens and homes. 4. Many flowers are used as vegetable and medicines. Pollination. Pollen grains are produced in the anther of the stamen and ovules are formed in the ovary of the gynoecium. Pollen grains represent the male sex cells, gametes, and ovules as the female sex cells. The pollination is the process of pollen transfer from anther to stigma of the same flower or another flower. The pollination is of 2 kinds, self-pollination and cross-pollination. 1. Self-pollination. When pollen grains produced from the anther reach the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant. 2. Cross-pollination. When the pollen grains of one plant are transferred to the stigma of another plant of the same species. Agents of cross-pollination. The pollen grains cannot reach stigma on their own, so they take the help of some other external agents for pollination. There are several agencies or sources through which pollen grains reach the stigma of other plants. The agents for cross-pollination may be wind, water, animals, and insects. Wind. In most of the plants, the pollination is brought about by wind. Example, maize, grasses, rice, etc. Such plants show these characteristic features. A. Flowers are small, light, and colorless. B. They do not produce any odor or nectar. C. Pollen grains are produced in enormous quantity. Water. Pollination through water is common in most of aquatic plants. Example, Vallisneria, Lemna, Wolffia, etc. In such plants, pollen grains of a flower reach the stigma of another flower through water medium. Animal. There are several animals through which animal pollination is brought about, like birds, bats, snails, and squirrels, etc. bring about pollination. In example, Bombax, Bauhinia. Elephant brings about the pollination of Rafflesia. Insect pollination. The large numbers of plants are pollinated by insects. The fragrance and colored petals of the flower attracts the insects like flies, bees, butterflies, and beetles, etc. Insects, when visit the flower for nectar, some pollen stick to their body, and when they go to the other flower, they leave the pollen grains on the stigma of that flower. Example, Linearia, Nystanthus, jasmine, etc. Fertilization. When pollen grains reach the stigma of the gynoecium through pollination, they grow to form a pollen tube. This tube carries male gametes to the female gamete, which is present in the ovule. One pollen tube finally enters the ovule, and male gamete infuses with the female gamete, resulting in the formation of zygote. Thus, the fusion of male gamete with the female gamete occurs, and the formation of zygote is called fertilization. Formation of fruits and seeds. After fertilization, the ovary develops into fruit and ovules into seeds. After fertilization, the following changes occur in the flower. Calyx falls off, sometimes persists as in tomato and brinjal. Corolla dries and falls off. Stamens dry up and fall off. Ovary, fruit. Ovary wall, fruit wall. Ovule, seed. Zygote, embryo. Structure of a fruit. After fertilization, the ripened ovary develops into a fruit. The ovary wall gives rise to the fruit wall. The fruit may be fleshy, juicy, or dry. A mature fruit consists of pericarp and seeds. A typical fruit has been divided into three parts. 1. The outer wall or layers is called epicarp. 2. The middle fleshy layer is called mesocarp. 3. The innermost hard portion that encloses the seeds is called endocarp. Seed. Seed is fertilized mature ovule. A seed is formed as a result of fertilization of an egg with a male gamete within an ovule. There are great variations in the shape, size, color, and surface of the seeds. Structure of a seed. The seed consists of an embryo, one or two cotyledons, and a covering called seed coat. The embryo bears radicle at one end that on germination develops into root and plumule. Orchid seeds are very small. Wolffia seeds are the smallest, and the largest seeds of Cocodermer palm are up to 30 centimeters long and weigh an amazing 20 kilograms. on the other hand, which develops into shoot. The cotyledons contain food material for the new plant. The seeds of some plants have two cotyledons, called dicotyledonous plants. Example, bean, gram, and pea. The seeds containing one cotyledon is called monocotyledonous plant. Example, maize, wheat, and barley. Functions of seed. 1. The seed stores food materials in cotyledons that provides food to the developing embryo. 2. The seeds give us food, fodder, spices, oil, medicine, etc. Dispersal of seeds. Plants produce many seeds in fruits to increase their generation. Dispersal means how fruits and seeds disperse to distant places and is very much essential for the new plants to grow. If they do not disperse, they will directly fall below the mother plant and germinate. A number of new plants will grow below the mother plant, and they will not get enough food, water, and sunlight because of overcrowding, and they will die. Seeds can be dispersed in these ways. Dispersal by self-explosion. The seeds of some dry mature fruits explode automatically and are scattered far away. Example, cotton. Dispersal by wind. Some seeds are so light and hairy that they are carried away through winds from one place to another. Example, sesame, cotton. Dispersal by water. Water is another source for dispersal of seed in aquatic plants. Example, lotus. Dispersal by man and animals. Man and animals, after eating the fruits, disperse the seeds to distant places. Example, mango. Some seeds in fruits have hook-like structures, spines, bristles, and hairs, which stick to the fur of the animals and carried to distant places. Example, xanthium, maritinia, urena, etc. Germination. The process by which a seed grows into a baby plant is known as germination. Ideal conditions such as air, water, and warmth are required for a seed to germinate. If seeds are placed in too much water, lack enough air, or do not receive enough sunshine and warmth, they cannot germinate. When a seed is placed or falls into moist soil, the seed will begin to absorb water from the moist soil, which will then enter the embryo of a baby plant. The embryo in the seed will then begin to grow and then gradually break the seed coat. When the embryo comes out and starts growing, roots are formed first and fix the baby plant firmly to the soil. After this, the shoot of the plant starts growing towards the sunlight. The first pair of the leaves of a baby plant is known as cotyledon. The baby plant that is growing is also known as a sapling or a seedling. Activity. Soak the pea and gram seeds in water for 12 hours and put them in a plate filled with sand or soil. After 2 to 3 days, it will germinate. Now, uproot and study this plant. See the root and shoot system in germination stage.